if you have a question during the show, we want to hear your input is a big part of what makes the show successful, and we thrive on your energies and insights. Whether it's a quick comment, a thoughtful question, or an opinion you just have to share, please don't hesitate to drop it in the chat. And if you want to make absolutely sure your message stands out and gets featured on the show, there's an easy way to do that. Use the super chat button on the bottom of the chat box. Send in your super chat. This guarantees that super chat gets read on the air. And it's also a fantastic way to support our channel. We really rely on your support to keep bringing you the sports content you love, and we appreciate every bit of it. So go ahead, let us know what you're thinking, hit that super chat button, and let's keep this show as interactive and exciting as possible. And if you prefer, you can always go to the GSMC podcast, gsmcpodcast.net, to tip, donate, or leave a comment or question there. We couldn't do what we do without your amazing support, and we're so thankful to have you as part of our community. We have to start off though with the Ravens Monday Night Football victory over the Chargers. So it was the Harbaugh ball. First of all, that was the main storyline entering the game. Jim Harbaugh taking on John Harbaugh. Obviously, there's a big game still going on, besides the fact that John Harbaugh is taking on Jim Harbaugh. The Ravens entering this game off of a disappointing loss to the Steelers, trying to gain some momentum back towards them going forward after a huge help they got from the Cleveland Browns on Thursday night of beating Pittsburgh to bring them right back into the division title race, while the Chargers came in off their biggest win arguably of the season, beating a Bengals team who has not been doing great this season, yes, but if you look at the Chargers and the quarterbacks that they beat beforehand, that was their most impressive win. And in this game, I thought they got off to a good start. They got that touchdown early on in the game, and they looked like they had that little bit of momentum. But what the Ravens were able to do in terms of returning back to what they were doing really, really well earlier on the season. But Baltimore Ravens is a dangerous football team when their running game is on point. When you have the combination of that run game and what Lamar Jackson can do with his legs, and then on what that does to open up, opportunities for Zay Flowers, Bateman, and the boy, and Mark Andrews and them boys. The start is just being able to dominate in terms of the run game. And sometimes in the past, the Ravens, and going back to last year's AFC Championship, they've sort of deviated from a play calling perspective, just randomly in moments that you don't expect. But and if you look at what Derrick Henry has been doing earlier this season compared to what the production he's had in the last few weeks, he's he's slowed down a little bit. But today he got back to his earlier season form, 24 carries for 140 yards. He averaged 5.8 yards a carry, and he was just gashing this Chargers defense, who has been one of the most elite defenses in the league. They've been brilliant. They're brilliant defense. They're brilliant red zone defense. And today they were carved up by Derrick Henry and this Baltimore Ravens offense. They were really able to generate what they want. And the thing that was most impressive about Baltimore is, number one, they were very efficient in first and second down. They kept themselves out of third and unmanageable. They kept themselves always in third and manageable, and what that allowed for the in terms of the Ravens is to get in those third and ones, those fourth and ones that they continuously were able to get. Because if you're in a third and one, fourth and one that we saw multiple times, you're in that situation, it's almost guaranteed to get the first down when you have Derrick Henry at the wheel. It's almost a guarantee. It's a highly unlikely to stonewall Derrick Henry from not even getting a yard. And that was the case. The Ravens did a really good job of that. They made certain stops. Obviously, I still think the secondary can be a little bit concerning in certain moments. They had a few moments here where there was PIs or could have been PIs, and it was and it was split moment things that kept the Ravens in terms of kept that secondary from not conceding a play to keep the Chargers on the field. But overall, I mean, it was a great bounce back after last week. The way that they were able to get things going, and look, Baltimore Ravens, they're a winning football team. They have a winning culture. Now they're 8-4. They still haven't played their best football of the season. I think they're a really really good team, and obviously they are a really good team, and as far as the Chargers, the Chargers, they still have not beaten a team with a winning record, despite that they beat Cincinnati, but Cincinnati has been poor this season overall. The Los Angeles Chargers, there is still that question over them. Can they beat a good team? Their 7 wins this season came against the Bengals, who are 4-7, the Tennessee Titans, the Cleveland Browns, the New Orleans Saints. The Denver Broncos is probably the best win of the season. Yeah, the Denver Broncos. So they have one win over 500 actually. The Denver Broncos, and against Carolina and the Raiders. They've only won one of their 7 games have been against teams with winning record. And any team that they've gone up against that's decent, you could argue that they've look Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a weird one. They're 4-7. I still think they're a decent team, but let's exclude Cincinnati out of the way. But they lost to Arizona. They lost to the Chiefs. They lost to the Ravens, and there was a 4th loss, and then they lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's a little bit shaky right now where I see them. I think Chargers are a team. They just lack that explosiveness. And look, there was a big moment in this game. The Chargers are down. I believe they were down 7 at this point. You have an opportunity that on 3rd down, Justin Herbert hits a wide open Quentin Johnson, who's coming on a crosser type of route, and he just drops it on 3rd down. He's able to catch that ball, and he has nothing but green grass and a blocker ahead of him. There's one Ravens member of the secondary, but other than that, that can get blocked up cleanly. I mean, you're talking about a lot of and it's an absolute game changer. That one, it was at the beginning of the 4th. Chargers were up. Ravens were up 7. 3rd and 6. He catches that ball, and he might still be running. And it's a complete game changer. The Ravens go on to get the ball, pick up a few first downs, and then Justin Hill breaks a 50-plus yarder on 3rd and 2, and essentially makes it impossible for the Chargers to come back. I mean, it was a 14-point game after that. And yeah, that's kind of the story, man. It's little bit things that go here and there can completely change the momentum of a game. And I thought the Chargers played overall a good one. I thought defensively they were not as not to the team that not to the level of the defense I've seen them earlier. I thought they struggled to contain that run game. I thought Justin Herbert was decent. I thought he made a really good play avoiding the blitz. I believe it was on 3rd down to find McConkey. And then they ended up getting a field goal out of that drive to cut it to a 1-point game. I think at that point they made it 17-16. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to analyze this for the Chargers. I still want them to see them beat a really good team. Now, going back, I'm gonna answer this comment I see. So the the Chargers are getting into that wild card spot. And he says that Miami is looking to secure wild card spot. Steelers, Broncos fighting as well. Look, number one, so there's three wild card spots, right? Let's assume that one will go to the team that doesn't win the AFC North between the Steelers and the Ravens. One of those two teams will get a wild card spot. I still think Bengals are still in it for that seventh spot, even despite the fact that they're 4-7. But eliminate that; they're not the one team competing with the Chargers. I think the Chargers are comfortably will get into the playoffs right now. They're 7-4. They have a half a game lead over the Broncos. They have one less loss than the Broncos, but they have the tiebreaker over the Broncos. The Chargers beat the Broncos earlier this season. Chargers also get another chance to play the Broncos. This time Denver has to go to LA. I believe in a head-to-head, I'll favor the Chargers over the Broncos any day, just because the Broncos has a better team. In my opinion, overall offense, defense, special teams combined. Broncos have elite defense, but offensively, I don't think they could compete with the Chargers right now, despite the Chargers offense being a little shaky. I just trust the Chargers situation a little bit more. And then you see, the Chargers, they have the Patriots in there, they have the Raiders, they have an Atlanta team that can be a little fugazi. We don't know, Atlanta is a fugazi team. It's a team that Chargers I expect will beat. The Buccaneers, that can be a difficult one. But still, I think the Chargers are in there. Chargers don't have relatively that hard of a schedule. And in terms of getting in, I think they'll comfortably get in. They'll be that sixth seed. I think the Broncos, Cincinnati, Miami, those are the teams that are really going to be battling in that 7-seed range. But I think the Chargers, if they don't have a crazy collapse, I think they're kind of locked into that 6th seed, just because of the fact that for them to jump either the Ravens or the Steelers, not only do they need to play catch up to reach those two teams, because those two teams already have 8 wins this season, but catching up to them is not enough. You have to have a better record than them. You have to have a game better record than them, because those two teams have tiebreakers, virtue of the Ravens win over the Chargers today. We're past midnight, so technically yesterday. And then the Steelers defeat of the Chargers way earlier on in the season. But all this calculation, blah, 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 it's, I think it's a little bit early in the season to do that. It's never too early. Let me rephrase that. It's never too early, but there's still a lot of football to go. And some of these teams are really going to show us what they are down the stretch. I think Miami is a team that's going to get in that 7th seed. I think Miami is a much better team than Denver, that is just masked by what Miami's quarterback issue has had earlier on this season. But now with Tua being back, look at how electric that Miami team is. But yeah, we'll get to that.